TryHackMe.com is another great resource for those that are trying to get into cybersecurity or improve certain skill sets. They have platforms for both offensive and defensive. But yeah, let's check it out. So it has all of these learning paths available for you. You can focus on web fundamentals, pen test plus, cyber defense, seams, like anything. But today we're gonna focus on the basic pen testing room. So go ahead and make yourself an account and let's get started. Okay, so once you create an account, you're gonna wanna click your icon and then go to access. Here you're going to want to download your OpenVPN configuration file, save it, and then while I'm here, I'll make a TryHackMe directory and move this configuration file into it and start it up. Once this is up and running, you can click refresh to make sure that you're connected. And then we're going to want to head to learn and start this first basic pen testing practice. And you're going to want to click join room. And then once you're here, click start machine. And we'll wait for that IP address to pop up. Okay, so now that we have our IP, let's open another terminal screen, pull this up, cdthm, and then I like to export this IP just so I'm not typing it in every time. So when you echo it, you don't have to keep copying and pasting it. Reviewing this web app testing privilege escalation tasks, you can see we'll do some brute forcing, hash cracking, service enumeration, and Linux enumeration. Before we begin, we can start an nmap scan with pack SC and V for version and simple script scans, pack PN to negate host discovery, and then we'll output this into a file so that we can save this and look at it later. And we'll let that run. Okay, now that we have our nmap scan back, you can scroll up and see that 22 is open, SSH, port 80 is open, running Apache, 139.445, Samba, and a couple other high ports, and Apache Tomcat. Any other SMB information? The host name's basic. No. Okay, I already went ahead and clicked submit for these two, which is just running nmap on the machine and then connecting in with OpenVPN and spinning up the machine. But now our focus is to find a hidden directory on the web server. So when we go ahead and navigate to this web server, we're brought to a very informative page. Just kidding. We can start off by looking at the page source, undergoing maintenance, blah, blah, blah. Check our dev notes section if you need to know what to work on. You can also check to see if there's a robots.txt, which there's not, again, running Apache. Okay, so from here, we can do a directory brute force on this web page. And this is where we're gonna attempt to brute force certain directory names or file names in order to see if we can find any unlinked or other avenues to enumerate. There are multiple tools to do this. There's dirsearch, gobuster, Ffuf. I like using gobuster, which the syntax would be gobuster dir -w for the word list. I like using SecList for a lot of my word lists. Discovery, web content. You can either use raft or directory list. We'll do a medium. And then tac u, http, ::::. Let that run. Here, while that runs, we can go to, oh, well, we can cancel this probably. We see that whack development came up. Development. And it's an indexed page. Reading dev.txt. I've been messing with the strut stuff. There's Apache, and it's pretty cool. I think it might be neat to host on the server. Haven't made any real web apps yet. And it's the REST version of it, REST API. Oh, and right now I'm using version, so this may be a vulnerable vector. SMB has been configured. I got Apache set up. And then this one, I've been auditing contents of Etsy Shadow. Ignore passwords. So K is telling J that he basically has a weak password. But we found the hidden directory. We can go back here and type in, I'm not going to type it in, I'm going to copy paste and submit. Moving on. Okay, so now our task is to find the username, password, and what server do you access the server. This could probably be SSH, but let's try and find the username. So Samba on port 445 was open, and you can use a number of tools, SMB client, or you can use enum for Linux. This will do a lot of the guesswork for you in enumerating. So this would be enum for Linux tac A, and then do the IP and tee this off into a file and let this run. Okay, now that we got those results back, I mean, right away we can see that once it was enumerating users using this SID, we found the two, K and Jan, where Jan had the weak credentials. So in order for us to brute force the password, there's a tool called Hydra, and this allows you to brute force username, password combinations, either in like FTP, Telnet, SSH. It even does like web logins through post requests. So let's try that. Hydra, and then tac L for Jan for the username. And then we're going to do tac P. We're going to use our RawQ text list, which is a huge text file containing a whole bunch of weak passwords, basically. Don't try opening it. You'll probably crash your VM. And then we're going to specify the protocol, kind of like a web server, and then throw in your IP and let that run. And here it'll attempt to brute force using these passwords for this username. Sweet. Now we got our login and password. It's Jan and Armando. So we can go ahead and click complete there, and then type Jan here, and then Armando here. Now that we actually have credentials, we can SSH directly into the box. Yes. And Armando. There, we have a shell. What service do you use to access the server? That would be SSH, submit. And now we have to enumerate the machine to find any vectors for privilege escalation. We can do some manual privilege escalation or manual review to see if there's any like vectors. This is read write by root, so that's not really anything. Do sudo tac L to see if we have any sudo permissions on any binaries. That is not my Kali password, that's Armando. There's no sudo. But another thing we could do is use a script called LinPEAS. And this tool, let me show you, basically takes all of the guesswork out and having to manually look at everything. So let's open up another terminal. Let's just open up another screen. And secure copy whack linpeas linpeas.sh, and then we're going to specify the user and the IP and a world writable directory. Generally there are 3 that you can do. There's dev shm, there's var temp, and temp. We can just throw ours into temp and call it a day, Armando, and then go back to our shell. cd temp, lstac al, here linpeas is there, make it executable, and then run it. If I can type today. May not. Key it into a file. And break this down a little bit. So when you're reviewing this scan, you're going to focus really on the reds and the yellows. If it's a red yellow, it's probably your privilege escalation vector. Red generally means you have to do a little more digging and manual enumeration to figure out what that vector is. But if we scroll down and see, this is world writable as well. Ping and netcat are available. What the operating system is running an older version of sudo. No weird path variables. Scrolling down. Might be some kernel exploits to root the device. There's a lot of them available. Oh, weird services running. Keep scrolling down. No cron jobs that are out of place. Keep going. This like format is terrible when I try to blow it up for you guys. You have a localhost port listening on 8005. A little interesting. Oh, sudo. A lot of available scripting languages. Keep going. Here. So this is K's SSH Private Key, which is pretty bad because using this key, you're able to SSH as a user if it's not password protected. I don't have to type a long password anymore. Very convenient. But it sounds like it is password protected. So let's check this out. So we're gonna go cd home a cd.ssh and look at these. So there's a private and public key, and we're gonna at this and copy it to our box. A ID RSA. Now, the public keys and private keys for SSH both have to have certain permissions on them in order to run like correctly. So this one would be mod 600. And then from here, we're going to try and use those private keys in order to SSH into the box as K. And it is password protected. So in this situation, if you've heard of the tool John the Ripper, John has a subsuite of tools that are able to convert certain things like zip files, keep pass, and SSH into the right format in order for you to brute force those credentials. For this scenario, we're going to use SSH to John, and then we're going to specify our key file and then output this as John cracked. It could be anything. And then we're going to run John, and we're going to specify John cracked, and then the word list rock you. Oh, that was quick. So the password is beeswax. So now we're going to attempt to re-SSH back into this box using K at $IP. And the passphrase would be beeswax. And now we're in SK. So going back to the TryHackMe site, we can answer a couple more. Enumerate the machine, find any vectors, which was the SSH. Private keys. What is the name of the other user you found? That is K. You found another user. What could you do with this information? And what is the final password? So let's first knock out this final password before going into this question. We'll do a simple ls and cat pass.back. We'll extend this and copy this password as the final one. Submit. Nice. Okay, so going back to this, if you found another user, what can you do with this information? That was basically because initially we used SSH to get into the box as the other user. What other ways can you use besides a password to get into the box through SSH, which is what we found using those private keys. So we're going to mark this as complete, and boom, you finished the basic penetration testing room. Congratulations. I'm not going to go into rooting this box. If you remember from LinPEAS, you saw a whole bunch of kernel exploits and other vectors that you could possibly do. If you want another challenge, you can try rooting it. Just extend your time in this active machine info and just keep pressing on. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to be doing more of these walkthroughs alongside the Hack the Box ones, and we'll just go back and forth and have some fun. Hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see you next time.